Wolltest du deinem Partner schon immer mal solche Fragen stellen wie: „Würdest du dir manchmal wünschen, dass es die Kinder nicht gäbe und traust dich einfach nicht?“ Ich habe mich getraut und ich habe heute meinen Partner dabei, meinen Lebensgefährten, meinen Verlobten, meine bessere Hälfte und wir sprechen über genau solche Themen. Ich muss ein bisschen spoilern, denn wir sprechen Englisch miteinander. Unsere Sprache miteinander ist Englisch, deswegen hätte es sich einfach nicht natürlich angefühlt, wenn wir in einer anderen Sprache miteinander gesprochen haben. Aber ich blende dir auf jeden Fall Untertitel ein, sodass du dir dieses Video auch gern mit Untertiteln anhören und anschauen kannst. Und jetzt wünsche ich dir ganz, ganz viel Spaß bei der Episode. Lehn dich zurück und lass dich von unserem Gespräch inspirieren. Herzlich willkommen bei Bonusgeflüster, deinem Podcast für mehr Leichtigkeit, Klarheit und Verbindung in deiner Patchwork-Familie. Und ich bin super happy, dass sich mein Partner heute traut, mit mir über die juicy Fragen mal zu unterhalten. Lass uns direkt loslegen. So, my darling, welcome to the podcast of Stief und Glücklich. I'm happy to have you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
What was the first thing that you thought when I asked you to come and talk with me about our patchwork family on the podcast? What was the first thing?
Well, sharing personal things on the internet is not my thing, than my natural thing. So maybe I was not totally open at the beginning, but then I figured, I mean, we had and we have so many conversations about the topic that why not doing it and sharing it.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of bonus moms will be so grateful for this episode because usually the voice of the dad is not being heard, especially like not in my podcast. I don't have a lot of dads who talk about it. So I think it's super nice that you bring in your perspective.
And I would even add that I don't think there are a lot of dads that spend so much time analyzing every single aspect of this system of a patchwork family than I did. So I'm pretty well aware of how it works.
Yeah, true. Like I bring the topic in a lot.
Yeah, we walked through it.
Yeah, we work through it all the time. Like there is never a conversation where it's like 10 minutes and it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's not true. We have those. But more often it's like, okay, like, do you have 2 hours? I need to talk with you about something.
Let's go for a walk.
Yeah. How would you describe our journey in one word?
Wow. Not really inspired, I would say. I would say I could find words at different steps of the journey that would describe more, but I mean, obviously right now I would say amazing because it started in a way that wasn't made to work. You know, if you look at rationally how we started with the parameters of our relationship, like the long distance in different countries, cultures, kids in the middle, then it wasn't really supposed to work out fine, but it did. And it went through a lot of steps. And now, I would say amazing because, I mean, we are still at the beginning, right? We have a bunch of years in front of us. But I think that when it comes to those patchwork program, I feel that they are not, I don't consider them as problems anymore. We have like problems to solve, smaller problems, but the ones that were like the big ones where we were really questioning the whole thing, then they're not existing really anymore. So I would say now it's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean that's your ability just to like let all the bad memories being sucked out of your brain. I mean, because if I would need to choose a word, I would probably choose like difficult. I completely agree with you, right? Like I love where we are now, what we achieved, how we worked through it and stuff. But for me, one word that I would use would definitely be difficult. It was difficult.
But that's why I said, to me, there are different steps. And at certain point, I would definitely have used the word difficult too. I remember, I don't know if you have this same memory, but I remember once we were walking around a lake, like often, and we were sitting on a bench, and we were talking about, like, will it improve? How do we make it better? And that was the point where, I don't know, for me was really the point, like, oh wow, that thing could break our relationship. And at this point, I would say it's probably the most difficult memory I have from our relationship. But then, we could have stopped the conversation and keep walking in silence. But then we walked it through, and then I would say there was still, the worst moments, there was still light, and that's what kept it going.
That touches me a lot because I mean, I knew that there were situations, where, especially like also for you, it was really like, okay, can and will that work? But I don't have it as clear anymore, because for me, there were like, I didn't feel it as it was such a big thing. For me, there were like more like the small moments in between, like asking myself, is it really worth it? Why should I struggle with a man with children if I could have also a man without children? That kind of stuff. It wasn't a big thing like you just described it.
For me, it was more like, I mean, first of all, I never had a patchwork family relationship before. So, and I think most of the people probably struggling in that kind of relationship are the same. It's like, you didn't know what to expect. Then there is no manual. You don't even think that it's a thing. You don't even think that it will create problems. So at the beginning, it was like, oh, fine, oh, yeah, I have children. Come on, we will deal with that. You will love them, and then we will all be happy. But then you go through it, and then you're like, oh, there is this problem, and this problem, and this problem, and this problem. And at some point, there is okay, but it just can't stay like that, right? There is no point. If we don't go solve those problems, then nobody's happy, and that's not a life. We can't pretend that we go through it and everything is fine. And I couldn't really picture a life, because that's the point of a relationship. I think is like to picture it as a life. I couldn't picture it if those problems weren't solved. So as long as I had this hope for, yeah, we can make it. We are making a little bit of progress. Maybe not a lot today, but tomorrow we'll make a little bit more progress. And yeah.
Obviously, like you have a very, very clear picture of that day on the lake where we were sitting on the bench, and where that thought was really present to you. I honestly, I can't remember it that well. Can you take me back there? Do you remember what happened before?
It's very blurry, the specific topic we were talking about, but maybe I shouldn't have taken this example, because maybe it was only in my head. Like it was a tough conversation. Don't remember the exact topic, but it was in my head, where I was like, oh, that's a tough one. Like, yeah, can we solve that one?
Like, from all the difficult situations we had, I said, from not being on the same page with how should we bring up the kids, what rules should we have with them, to me are not looking forward to when they are coming, like of me being pissed off that like we need to reschedule our vacation plans just because for their holidays, all those kind of things. What challenge do you think was our biggest one?
To me, at least, harmony is the biggest one, because I can deal with like technical logistic problems and make a lot of compromises, but the hardest part for me has been to be in the middle between you and the kids, and feeling that I needed to take care of both sides, but feeling that there were sides. So it's not one specific thing. It's really like when now I would say that in, I don't know, in the past months or so, I haven't felt that kind of side thing anymore. And that was the hardest part, definitely.
Yeah, I think it changed a lot for us when we moved to France. For me, that was a huge part of becoming a family. You know, before I always felt like the girls were guests in our house. You know, they were coming every 6 weeks. They stayed for a week or two, you know, and apart from the summer holidays, of course, but in general, you know, it felt like they were visitors. And when we moved here and then suddenly we started to have them on a regular basis, that just felt like, okay, like that's a complete different understanding of being a family.
Yes, and yet it's if you look also at before we moved to France, it was already getting better. So it kind of fits together, and it helped to have them more often. But it's also like a lot of things went better. And I mean, in our specific case, I think there are plenty, huge range of problems you can have in a patchwork family. One of our main ones was the language, which also helped at some point because you were speaking better French, they were speaking better English. So communication could happen. And we already have solved like most of the major problems. So it kind of went together at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about it. You know, it really makes me emotional to hear you saying how much you struggled with being between sides. And I'm feeling super sorry for that I created those sides. I mean, I'm pretty aware that the girls were never creating that side. You know, it was me who was not feeling included, of put you in the position of choose that or that, you know, and not even consciously, but more because it was so difficult for me, you know, and I couldn't handle it better. So it put you in that position of saying like, well, I feel like I'm switching sides, or I need to choose sides. And yeah, I'm really sorry for that.
That's okay. I'm all right. But I think what's tricky with this side thing is it's a vicious cycle, because whenever sides are created, then at least from my side, it's almost impossible to take your side. Like it will always be the kid's side, because my mission as a dad that don't see his children often is that they feel good, they are happy, they are. So if something happens, then naturally I always turn toward them, because I want to kind of create the bubble and make everything like, hey, let's do that. And then the more I turn towards them, the more it creates side, and then it's the vicious cycle. So
Yeah.
you're crying as well.
12 minutes into a podcast. I mean, that was a conversation we had a lot, right? Like, because one of my strategies was to go on a distance to you guys, you know, to feel overwhelmed in a situation and say, I need time for myself. I don't know, I will meet a friend, whatever, I'm not around. And then it created a distance between, especially you and me. We lost connection, you know, because what happened in those moments were that you were turning to the kids to protect them, to not make them feel that they are not wanted or that they are not welcome or that they are the cause of our problems, that kind of stuff. And that always created a distance between us, and it always felt like we were turning our backs towards each other instead of still facing to each other. And that was a lot in our dynamic as a couple. That happened a lot.
Yeah, and I would add a little bit of nuances between the side creating part. You mentioned, for example, I would go and see a friend, and to me, this is not really about spending time together, because quickly I figured, okay, if we want this to work, you know, you need to have this time to breathe. You know, now it feels like you need it less and less, but still, you know, you still have it, and I'm still happy that you have it. I also need time to breathe from my children from time to time. That's totally normal. But this is the how do we deal with that? Because like there is going for 2 hours, see a friend while the kids are here, are absolutely fine if we are acting as a team, planning it together, kissing goodbye, and everybody's happy, and then we watch a movie with the kids and enjoy our time, and you come back and we are all happy that you are back. Or if it's like you go and we are not talking because obviously something is wrong, but we don't want to talk about it in front of the kids, and then you leave, we say goodbye. It's the same 2 hours, right? But the first scenario is totally fine. The second is hell.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens when you can't stay in connection, you know. And I mean, in especially in the beginning, when they started to visit us in Germany, you know, and they were staying with us in Germany, it was a lot of that because I was just so overwhelmed with the situation and I couldn't handle it better, you know. And it was just, for me, it felt like I need to flee, I need to escape, I need to get out of here. It's too much. And in that moment, I was often not possible to stay in touch. And then it was also, you know, I questioned myself so much in it, like, why am I too complicated? Why is it not easier? I mean, the girls are adorable, right? Like, they never did anything wrong. They were never mean. They never misbehaved, you know? It was always like where I said, why is it so complicated for me? That was also like making me feel wrong. Like, everybody else would have loved to have those kind of kids as bonus kids. They're so easy. They are so sweet. But for me, it was always, not always, but often a big struggle anyway.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the. I mean, we again, neither you nor me has tried other patchwork families, so we can only talk about what happened in our one. But it's also a lot due to the expectations, and to be fair, for example, like simple question is, should I that I had back then, like at some point we were talking about loving the kids like if they were your own, and then I realized, but actually I don't know what to expect. You know, I have no idea what's normal or not. Like, is it should be the case, but you're not doing it, so it's wrong? Or is it like, no, actually nobody is doing that and then everybody's faking, like some people are faking? We have no idea. But there are those expectations that are kind of non-said, not talked about, and that we are dealing with, and this creates those moments and those bad feelings, like what's wrong with me? And I mean, we it feels we have went through this topic a lot, and I think it helped to, and I even think there is okay, that's not science, it's just me ideating on the topic, right? But I think there is a sort of virtual cycle this time, where the more you admit that you are not fitting to whatever societal expectation you should do, love them as your children, and like be the perfect stepmother that does everything, the more you're okay with the fact that you are not that, the easier it will be. So the better the harmony, the stronger the connection, and in the end, the thing that you couldn't do at the beginning, you start doing it, but not because it was forced, simply because you accepted it, and then it created the circumstances for it to happen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like you basically, like you need to let it go, than to be open about it. But I remember like that was like a big expectation you brought in our relationship. You know, like this wish of that I would love the kids as if they would be my own, that I'm always super happy when they are coming, just like you are, you know, that I share this sadness when they leave, you know, and that was a thing that did put a lot of pressure on me, you know. And I remember there was also the point where you said to me, and that was actually not long ago, where you said to me like, hey, don't you think like you're taking it a little bit too seriously with all that? Like, those are my boundaries. I don't need to do that. You know, like it was, you know, like also a little bit of, no, I need to frame it otherwise. I think you had a difficult time to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, outside of whatever societal expectation that we can't really name, but that are here somewhere, there is the ultimate thing that me as a dad I wanted, and the graal, the ultimate goal is just like a happy family. That's it. That freaking simple. Like that you are happy, they are happy. If everybody's happy, I'm happy, we're all happy. That's amazing, right? And in that, with that vision, then everything that is not fitting to that yet feels like stuff.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes I feel like I'm still the one pushing a little bit to that, like, you know, because you have, for you, the best thing is if it's the four of us together doing something, and like you have all your team together and everyone is super happy and everything. And I just can't do that all the time, you know. So then I'm the one like who's saying like, no, thank you, like don't want to participate in that. And the girls and you are like the, like, I would say a little bit disappointed that I'm taking myself out of it. And then you three enjoy your time a lot together. But sometimes it really feels like I am the one who is still saying like, sorry, I need my time. And still sometimes it's hard to deal with, you know, even though I know it's healthy for me and I don't feel bad about it. I know, okay, I will be recharged after that and we will have a good time afterwards. But still, sometimes it's still like me, the bad guy in this scenario.
Yeah, maybe I'm the other extreme where I would like us to spend too much time together. But again, it's going back to what we said earlier. It just depends on how we are doing that, because that's not a problem by itself. To have boundaries, to want to spend time on your own, that's absolutely cool, as long as we are doing it in a way where we feel good.
Yeah. You know, earlier you said that we both didn't have patchwork experience before. Although that's not true, because you grew up
Oh yeah,
with stepmothers. you had a certain image, at least, on how they acted, how they were behaving, also how your father acted with them towards you, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that has shaped you a lot too, while I really literally had zero experience. Zero, zero, zero.
It's true, although I didn't feel that really those experience framed me for my expectations. My expectations of a patchwork family were closer to a normal family rather than closer to what I experienced with my stepmothers, which were like different experiences, sometimes good, sometimes not good. But I've never really compared our relationship to that, although I often like compared our relationship to, okay, what if we would be not a patchwork family but an actual family?
Yeah, it's funny, you said like you didn't compare me to the stepmothers you grew up with, and still like one of them was a really important part for me in the first years.
Sure.
That I had called a lot and said like it's so difficult for me. How did you manage? Even though you didn't compare me to, but she was a referral point to me at some point.
And we were struggling. I mean, with her, I mean, she had me when I was a teenager, and I mean, I was not awful, but for her, I
That's
was a
correct.
pain. And for me, she was a pain because she was always mad for something. But now we love each other, and
Mm.
it just took time. But yeah, it wasn't easy. And yet, I never really compared the way you were acting to the way she was acting. Totally different.
Was there a point where I don't want to say regret, because I know you can't regret your children, but was there a point where you said, I wish it would be different. I wish I just could have this beautiful romantic relationship without those struggles that comes with bringing kids from a former relationship. You know what I mean? What I want to ask?
Kind of. But I think, I mean, this is this is it's a tough topic, right? Because it always makes people feel guilty, I guess. Everybody's kind of thinking about that at some point, and then obviously you're not really articulating those kind of things because it's not cool, right? Um, from my side, I came up with the idea that for sure, if it was to do again, I wouldn't have children that early on. And obviously, when you go through a relationship that you want to work, and then the only thing that seemed to actually create problems, because that was our case, like we were living like really great life, never arguing, and then we were arguing about the kids for whatever reason, but it was just like regularly arguing about that. And then obviously you think like, I never wish it was different, but kind of, you're like, it could have been different.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's what I mean, like I know you love your children so much, and there is no regretting that they exist, but the circumstances. At some point in our conversation, you also said like you would always choose the kid's side,
Mm.
because that's like what you as a father does. And I remember the first time you said that to me, it was extremely painful. And then at some point, we talked about it, and you explained it quite well to me. Do you still remember that?
Go ahead. Probably if you trigger it later, I will.
Um, it was the conversation where we talked about what if, for example, one of the girls would need to live with us.
Mm.
And for me, I mean, honestly, like, that was the worst that could happen. You know, it would have meant like a complete change of life and everything. Because it would have meant like you moving back to France, or having one of those French girls suddenly settle in Germany or whatever. Like, it would have been huge. And I remember that we were talking about it, and you said to me, you know, of course, if they need me, I'm going to be there. If someone breaks a leg and they need me, I'm going to drive through the night. I will be there. If they need to live with us for some reason, they will. But the question is, how do you, and you meant me, like, how do you get along with it? How can we solve it together? And for me, that changed everything, you know, knowing like, okay, like they will always be a priority in your life. And I can completely understand it. That was never the question. But to know I'm involved in that process too, and I don't need to take your decisions and live or die with it, basically. That was big for me.
Yeah. I mean, there is always a choice, right? So, but when you take the package, you take the package. And I think fighting that, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's literally, I don't know, trying to break a big rock with your head. It's just, sorry. Our dog is making a mess. Wipe it down. So yeah, it's like you just can't do it because you're fighting with nature. I mean, I'm literally like, my DNA is coded for me to love my kids unconditionally, and that will happen no matter you or whatever, whoever is happy or not. And it feels like it's a force that you can't even control. Of course, if they have problem, of course they will come. To go back to your conversation that you were mentioning, for me it was like, okay, if we can find a solution for them not to come, so we keep having our life, they keep having their life, it's everybody's happy. But if they have to, like, there is no question. I mean, where is the moment in my life where my kids need me and I say, sorry, I'm in relationship with a girl, she's really nice, so I would choose her over you? No, it just can't. It's impossible. So as soon as we get over that and we say, okay, that's the way it is, then now how can we make it work? That's where we move forward.
Yeah, and honestly, like, to accept that did cost me a lot too. You know, because I remember that, especially like in the beginning, I was kind of resenting the girls, you know. Without them, I would have had only this amazing man and this amazing life with him, without all the problems and difficulties. And I mean, back then you also said you don't want to marry again, you know, all those kind of things. Like, it was like, wow, like, if he wouldn't have had that life before me, basically, I could have had it all with him. And that put me in the position where it felt like I need to fight against the girls a little bit, even though that doesn't make any sense. But I think that was also a part of like why it was so difficult to accept that they are your priority.
Yeah, I mean, even the way you frame it now, you know, it literally objectively, when we think about it, you know, if they weren't, then this would happen. It's like, I mean, we went through it, so I understand how hard it feels on the moment. But now that, okay, kind of look back a little bit, then you are really like, objectively, why spend energy on that? Why? Like, what's the point of having those conversations? I mean, you have to have them so you can go through it. But those feelings, it's like, I don't know, if I'm having an accident and I lose a leg, and I spend my day looking at my missing legs, thinking, oh, if I had the 2 legs, I could run. Yeah, but I won't have another leg coming, so let's move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those were thoughts that didn't bring me a lot further. And still they were there because it was such a difficult situation for me to handle. And I mean, especially because we met at a moment in our lives where I think we both wanted a life that with the girls it was harder to fulfill. I mean, we wanted to travel, like
Yeah.
I was without children, I was single, you were single too, but still, like we wanted to travel, we wanted to explore, like you just got out of your job, you started your self-entrepreneur journey, like you wanted freedom and everything. And there were points where we couldn't live our life the way we wanted because those children existed, because we knew, like, okay, minimum every 6 weeks we need to be there.
Yeah. And I mean, again, from my perspective, is like everything is subject to compromise, change, sacrifice, whatever. The traveling, the place we live, the how often we see them, what everything else is okay to make it different. But the fact that they exist and that I will always be there and I will always have them as my priority. When we see them, I'm there for them. That is the only central point that couldn't move. And we made it like moving around it in the end, but it's not easy to get at the beginning. Even me, I mean, now I can say it, but it's not like I was explaining it like that 5 years
Mm.
ago. Now it feels clear, but back then I was like playing around the topic, trying to understand what I think about it and how do you think about it. So,
Yeah. Would you say that this was the only thing where you wouldn't do a compromise, or were there also other topics where you say that's a no-go topic for compromises for me?
minor topics for me are no go, but they are more like funny or like. I mean, we had a big one with the video game thing. I love video games. You don't, and I want them to play video games, and you don't want them to play video games. But even that, like we
That's
found.
also so not true. I don't want to go into that discussion again,
No, let's
but I
just move.
want it limited.
Yeah, it's just to say like this is something that's important for me, and I expressed it. I say I want them to play video game. I want to enjoy video games with them, but anyway, we made an arrangement where it's like it's okay, it's cool. So I would say everything else is possible to compromise. I mean, at least for myself, is I'm always open to find a compromise, and I'm always listening to whatever you want to do the way the way we are supposed to act, basically. But the fact that they are here and they will be my priority, that this one is not it's not subject to any compromise.
Yeah, I understand that. It's so funny that you say we found an arrangement in that topic
Kind of.
because we didn't.
No, I mean the arrangement is that
They are in their room and I don't see how much time they are spending on their
the less
screen.
you see it, the less it bothers you. So we try not to be like around playing video games too much, and we
Yeah,
also limit it.
arrangement.
And
I,
we also
I
made
just don't
some
see it
rules.
anymore.
Yeah, but that's good. That works. I don't feel like I'm too limited.
I think that was probably the biggest argument we've had when it came to the question of how do we bring up the kids? What is important in our home? What values do we want them to have? I think we were pretty much on the same page for a lot of things. Like, we want them to be respectful, we want them to follow a certain routine, like that was never a big
deal, and I always felt like you were backing me up, like you all in the beginning you briefed them before they did something with me on my own. Like you told them, like, hey, remember in the supermarket you are not getting anything, like you listen to what Sally is saying, like you made it very, very clear for them,
Yeah.
so that was always the thing. And I think the only thing where we never agreed was the screen time thing. And the other things is more like, how flexible are we about it? Because you are in general more the flexible guy, and while I'm the more like, hey, come on, like, let's stick to our rules and routines.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think these arguments we would have had it no matter patchwork family or not.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
it's like really this one is like, to me it was just like, no, that's what I want. You want different, then let's find a compromise. But it wasn't really about the fact that it was in a patchwork family. It really didn't play a part. So yeah, this brings me to a sort of more theoretical thing, because since we didn't have like a lot of big arguments about education, but still we had some, then I had time to think about what does it would mean, what would it mean for me. And I think it could be problematic that, it's like, it's in my head, it's more like a all or nothing. Being a stepmother doesn't remove rights or say to how do we raise the children. But being a stepmother that, don't do a lot of things, like, it's not my problem. It's I have all of my time on my own, and not involved. Then it's like, then you don't get a say in how, if it's they are my problem, then how do we raise them is also my problem. So my point here is like, the status of stepmother is not the fact, the thing that would make or break the say in the raising children, is what type, at which commitment point you are. And now that we are at the point where I feel we are a team, and I feel you involved in the girl's life, the girl's problem. And I mean, there was never, we always talked about those, but now it's like, I don't feel I have more saying into how do we raise them, what decision we make. We always talk about every topic together, and your opinion was as much as mine. But if you would only take the good side and say, deal with them, but listen to me when it comes to raise them, what is that?
I remember that at some point you also said that to me.
I probably so it didn't
Yeah.
come from my mind right now.
Yeah, somehow like there is something triggered in me, like who thinks like, yeah, I've heard that before. That if I just take the good sides, I don't have a big say in the bad sides too.
It's a
Um,
package.
yeah, and still, like you just said very beautifully, like just because you're a stepmother doesn't mean you don't have the same rights and stuff, and the opinion matters. And still, I'm not the one who makes the decisions in the end. That's you and your ex-wife, not me.
Because there is a third party involved. But if we are acting as a team, then we both own 50% of the decision. But
Ah,
I don't
yes.
own more than you. I don't make the decision on my own neither. It's my ex-wife and I. But by I mean us, if we are acting as a team. Of course, legally, if we are in a total fight and you say, no, I wanted to do it like that, and I said no, but if we are fighting, yes, I have the last saying, because they are officially my children. But we are not talking about that. We are talking about the daily life, and in the daily life, we are a couple, we are acting as a team, we are both interested in the girl's happiness. So there is no point in which we are talking about something and you tell me what the way you want it to be, and I said no, that won't happen. If it happens, is because there is a big problem behind it.
And on the same time, you kind of do say that, you know, for example, when you say like, yeah, if there would be, I don't know, like a legal fight about it, you know, and I would decide I'll do it like that, it still means like, okay, like I just need to take your decision as the way it is, you know. And I think that's a very, very big, difficult part, is as a step parent, you have that in mind. You can't just turn it off, basically. Like there's always a little bit left of, yeah, okay, we're making decisions together and we're acting as a team. And still, if it would come to this and that, I wouldn't have a say.
Still can adopt.
Still, even if I would adopt them,
Do you think? I don't know.
I don't know neither.
Yeah, but that's something I mean, again, it's not a thing that you can't really fight because that's the way it is.
No, and nevertheless, you know, it makes it complicated, at least.
Yes, but it shouldn't. It should. I mean, I'm talking from my simple man mind perspective, where the only thing that matters is that we are happy, right? And fighting something like that complicates things. Why? I mean, what is there to say about that? Yes, legally I have the last say, and then
Well, first of all, I wouldn't describe you as a simple man, a simple-minded man. So don't think like you can talk yourself out of that now. No, but I honestly, I think, I mean, I do get your point of saying like, yeah, why should we make it that complicated? But I don't think we're making it complicated. It's because it is. You know, it always, in those kind of moments, it feels like you're driving with one foot on the brake already. You're never giving like full speed. You're always like, be careful, you know?
I think it's also the reason why we do this podcast, is to talk from a perspective of 5 years in.
6 years.
6 years in. Yeah, but the first year is not the one where we were really dealing with the patchwork family problem.
No, we were.
Afterwards,
Yeah.
right? And obviously everything I'm saying now it wasn't that clear back then, but I wish I could find this kind of content and be like, so if I keep going in 5 years, then it will be as clear as that now. That's interesting, because when we are into it, then this thing like, yeah, I have the last say, you don't, you feel bad about it, but I try to make it right and to make you feel good, but still you feel wrong, but I can't really articulate why we shouldn't think about that, and you can't really articulate why you are really mad about that. That's the problem. But now that we are looking back, then this is how it appears to me. It's like the fact that we didn't have a choice to talk about it because that's how it felt, but rationally it's totally something that you are using your energy for nothing against.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
Simple, right?
Yeah, no, the emotional part of me says like, no, I just can't swallow it and just accept it like, okay, that's the way it is. I can't do that.
I mean, obviously, if we only have dealt with the problem that I chose, I don't think I've spent that much time talking about patchwork family problems.
Yeah,
So,
and I think, you know, you are hitting a very good point on it, because you said like, if someone would find that content and be like in the beginning of their patchwork relationship, they might think, okay, like in 5 years we can express ourselves like that, but that's just not true, because, like, I mean, let's face it, we did put a lot of work into it. You know, we both did a therapy, we spent years of talking and years of discussing and negotiating, and I don't know how many times I have cried. It was always me. Like, but you know, it wasn't like it just happened. We worked damn hard for it.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of there are shortcuts, and I think you're not. I mean, this kind of thing that we just talked about, like, to me, it doesn't make sense to fight against that. It absolutely doesn't make sense to you if you are if you are too early, or if it's too late. Doesn't make sense. But if it's heard in the right moment, I know that for me it would have helped. Like, for example, what I mentioned earlier, which was this virtual cycle between, I thought in the patchwork family the stepmother would love the children as their own. I don't know why, but I thought that. Turns out it's not how it works. So that's tough. But when you get over it, then you create the condition. So that starts happening. Then I remember asking my cousin and best friend, like, literally asking him, like, so what, do you have any idea if I should expect from Sally to love the children like her own or not? Like, literally those words. I had no clue.
What did
I've
you say?
never asked myself. I don't remember. I don't remember. It was a long conversation, but I went to him and shared that, because I was like, what, what is the right thing to do? What should I expect? But at this exact moment, if I have someone telling me, like, look, it's a virtual cycle and it could happen, even it doesn't mean that it's not happening now, it will never happen. This could happen.
And you were clinging to that hope a lot.
Yeah. I did.
What would have happened if it would not have happened?
Then if no hope, no light means, like, it's why wasting our available time on this planet? Like, you don't want to do that. No one wants to do that.
So basically what you mean is, like, as long as you've had hope that it could be better, you stayed in it.
Yeah.
What gave you that hope?
I think it's our conversations. It's really the fact that, even when it was really like we were hitting a wall and being like, our point of view are really different right now, then we would always wait a bit and start again, try to see it from another angle, and see another solution that we haven't considered already. And those mini improvements along the way, mini wins, mini compromises that turns out like a mini win, then we were always celebrating a lot when it was going well. I mean, it sounds weird to say it now, but when the girls came, and then we had like 3 days where everything was well, we were looking at each other and say, aren't we good now? It works, and that's celebrating and having, like, here and there those moments where I feel, if it would be always like that, that's what I want. That's where I'm working for. But if you have never that, right? If it's only conflict and pain and long conversation that leads nowhere, I mean, who wants to live that for years? Absolutely no one. It's not a matter of love. It's just a matter of, like, rationality.
Yeah, and I get that, that those good days were the things that kept you going. And I mean, they kept me going forward too, right? Like, those are the little moments where you think, okay, that's it. That's what it's worth for fighting, like, for example, like, I don't know, they're the small details, when the girls drew a picture of us and I was there, or when they came and they had made me like little presents and, those kind of things. Those were the moments where it was like, that's kind of cute, like that's,
Yeah, and I think you took a while to realize the importance you have in the girl's life, because we are right now to a point where they spend even the smally. She spent more of her life with us as a relationship than everything that happened before. Plus, this is the second part of her life, which is the one she remembers the most. And even more for the big one, but which means like they don't really know life where you're not around.
yeah, absolutely. And I guess that I still don't see the full impact of my being in their life yet. Now I can see it in small habits that they're taking from me, where it's really like, I don't know, when they are putting Maggi over their egg, I know like that's only me, like.
And there are way more than that. Like how many times, I'm about to react directly, but then something happens and I'm getting mad and I'm about to say something or to be mad at them, but then you are like, hey, wait a second, let's quickly talk about it. And then you alter my way of dealing with the situation, which makes my reaction towards them different, which makes the thing that happened after that different. Instead of being a conflict, then we deal with the problem and then we are enjoying time better. So it's like all those indirect impacts that you have through me to them, or the direct impact that you have, like the Maggie on the egg and plenty other ones. If you sum it up, it's a lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I hear you. I don't feel it yet, though. It doesn't arrive in my heart. It arrives in my brain, but I don't feel it yet. Maybe like I think in a few years, when they will be older and they can also reflect better on that process, how they experienced it. I think it will become a lot more clearer for me. But to go back to the good days, like we also talked about it recently, that you experienced those days differently than me, because we went to a lake and I was just like, okay, headset in, listening to something, reading my book.
Sorry, it was in the middle of a tough conversation that we sat in silence on the bench, and then that was the moment. It was not like we were enjoying and I was thinking on my own.
No. I'm just making the connection to how we experience those days, because for me, having a good day meant, for example, also going to the lake and like chilling while you guys were playing in the sand or whatever. And I always saw it as like, oh, super, he's spending quality time with his girls, like, and I just can relax. But for you, it also meant a lot more work and not just as relaxing as it was for me. That is like where I wanted to go to the bridge of that.
Sorry, I thought you were referring to the former conversation about the day at the lake that
Oh
you mentioned at the beginning.
no.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your point, and this is probably also related to what we said earlier about the full package. It's like for years you didn't really realize, because there are, I mean, the thing that changes everything is taking responsibility. And honestly, I mean, we took responsibility for our dog right now, right? And it's different, but it's a life, and we take responsibility for it. And as soon as you take responsibility for someone else's life, it changes everything, the way you interact with that life. And at those moments on the lake, then I had the responsibility, you didn't. And the experience that we had was completely different, where you could chill, but I couldn't. For me, I was not at the lake to chill. I was at the lake to hopefully they have a good time. Hopefully you have a good time, and that would be amazing if I can have like a 5 minute in the middle to just enjoy myself. But I was not there for me, and it was a completely different experience than you had. Well, now it feels different. Now when we arrive somewhere, I feel that we are acting more as a team than we were back then. And I wouldn't say how is the responsibility you took over the girls. It's probably not the equivalent of like the mother, but it's no comparison to what it was back then on the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree 100%. And I think it was also a part of a commitment, like maybe I was avoiding commitment in that moment, like, or maybe I was stubborn. I don't know. It really felt like, no, I don't need to do that. They are not my children. I didn't decide to bring them into the world. I can decide to be here and enjoy the day at the lake too. I'm already there. You guys better be happy that I am. It was more like that, and I can absolutely see how that changed too over the years.
It's funny because again, on the moment you don't realize it, but that kind of thoughts lead nowhere. Rationally, and that's what I thought. I talked about, like having hope. Imagine if a thought like that is never changing. If the person is never willing to say, okay, maybe I can see the thing a little bit differently. That will be my point. Like, I'm there for me. Like, be happy that I'm here. And what is there left? Like, why are we struggling for?
My hypothesis would be that you are struggling because all the times when the girls are, or with the kids, when they are not there, that it's so good. So you take that as the price you pay.
Yeah, it's a very good point. But I don't see that working, because this is such a pain on the side. Like, really, even if it's freaking amazingly good, like the best life you could have, the best relationship, the best osmosis, harmony as a couple, and traveling and experiences and everything, when every now and then, every second week, every school holidays or whatever, you come to like, you fall in the hole of like, it's pain, and you realize that no, you're not that aligned, and the kids are. When it comes to, at least, I mean, for me as the father, the whole relationship is extremely important, but how the children will feel when they come and see me is as important. Like, it's like, I want both to work. Otherwise I just can't.
I was just thinking, imagine if, like, I don't know, in the second year of our relationship, we would have had the girls in the, like, every second weekend, and every second weekend we would have struggled. I'm not sure if we would be sitting here right now.
It's hard to say. I was just seeing different possibility, like maybe they would have learned English faster, therefore the communication would have been better faster, therefore we could be there anyway, or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. We don't know what would have happened, but while you were just talking and like with all the struggles constantly, I am just asking myself, would have were we not super lucky with the circumstances that we have?
Sorry, I didn't get the end. It was.
With the circumstances that we had, weren't we just lucky with them?
I mean, now we can say yes, why not? But there were also a lot of points where we're like, well, it's probably really easy for patchwork families when everybody is speaking the same language.
Yeah, true.
And there was so
Yeah.
much frustration, but
Yeah.
we never had the frustration of the ex-wife,
No,
because my ex-wife is amazing,
yeah,
and we
she's an
both agree
angel.
on that, and we
Yeah.
don't have this problem. But the language one is a tough one. It's a really, really tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many dinners we had where you needed to translate, or either me or the girls were completely silent. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's true. It doesn't make sense to compare if something would have been easier or harder. It was the way it was, and we're still here. So let's talk about a big step. For everyone that's just listening and not seeing the video, I'm just showing my engagement ring. What made you change your mind?
I think it's a series of things, but I get there is one specific where I want to get into. But I would say first of all, I didn't want to get married. Just for people to have some context, I'm not really into marriage, and all the examples I had in my life didn't work out. So it's not like something I'm looking forward to.
But now
But
you do.
obviously, yeah, yeah, sure, darling, I do. No, and so it was like I understood the importance it had for you, and I understood that I had a certain amount of time where I could like delay without hurting our relationship. And I think this delaying this commitment was also probably rooted into how the patchwork thing was working. I mean, that's not a coincidence that a few months after we arrived to France, where everything that we talked about happened, like we had them more often, they were speaking, the communication was easier. It has been months we were working on it, and the connection started, like everything started clicking. And I had hope until that point, but that point was really like it's not hope anymore only, it's it will work. And there is no point in committing really into something that that you don't see actually working. So it's not only that, I could have pushed and pushed because I didn't especially want to go through the whole process of the marriage, but probably this was also my unconscious. It was really related. Like when I did it, it was like, okay, now we can build. Now it works.
And it had nothing to do with me telling you, like, if you don't ask me, I'm going to ask you.
No, that's
So you need to face the decision anyway. Either way. Yeah, I mean, I get that kind of security that you needed. from it, to really be sure, okay, this works. And for me, I never had the doubt that we as a couple couldn't work. That was never the doubt. And I understand that from your side, it was not only the question if the couple works, but also if this relationship with me and the girls work.
Yeah, which end up being the same, basically. The one goes with the other. But to go back to why and when I asked you, I proposed, then it was already clear in my head since a few months that we.
Make me wait more?
Yeah, at this point I was delaying, but I think the realization that it would work happened, like we said, it was probably when we decided to move to France. That's where really things started moving and really in the right direction and clicking. But I understand again this. I love to theory about everything, but if I think about it, it's like what changed a lot as well, which I didn't plan on, but I think that your commitment towards the girls also increased after I proposed. Don't know if you did it on
Oh
purpose, if
yes,
you
that was a
realized,
huge game changer.
which is kind of tricky when you think about it, because if there is not enough commitment, then I don't want to propose. But if I don't propose, then there is not enough commitment, so I don't want to propose. And it's like either there is more commitment before proposing or proposing without the commitment, but it has to be one of these happening or happening with the right timing. Obviously you don't have to propose in every relationship. I don't know how it works, but in our case, it's kind of tricky. It really created a result, an impact, but it couldn't have happened if the impact wasn't there earlier, basically.
Right, and I think that's an important point, because I think it sounds a little bit like that there was no commitment between me and the girls, and I mean, at this point, we decided to move to France 1.5 years ago. So we were already together like for 4.5 years, and there had already been a commitment made.
I was just delaying at this point.
Thank you for pointing that out again so proudly. Unbelievable.
No, the commitment was done earlier.
No, but what you meant, or what you said, was like that after the engagement, the commitment changed again.
Yeah.
And it did drastically. Oh, and there was commitment to the girls before. I want to make that very clear. Like I took responsibility for the girls already before that, and we had a relationship already. And still, it got deeper after the engagement due to the fact that my image of a family changed. For me, as I said, I didn't grow up in a patchwork family. For me, it's really the core of the family. And the core of the family is also symbolized by married adults and by wearing the same name and those kind of things. That was huge for me. And with knowing like, okay, this will be the case now we marry, and now I'm not only marrying him, I am also accepting the kids as a different factor in my life too. That just changed a lot with that. And that's why I want to include them in the process of the wedding. That's why I want them to be a part of the ceremony, all those kind of things. But that was really a big thing where I think it brought us four more together again.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, of course, there were commitment before, enough commitment. So, that's where I'm thinking, okay, I can marry her. And even if the commitment is not getting better, it's enough so that we can deal with it. So obviously it went to this point, and the post proposal is like the bonus that I didn't even think about.
I over delivered.
You over delivered. That was good already.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you could have had that already like 2 years ago, but
Yeah, but 2 years ago, that would have been a bet.
yeah.
Like 2, 3 years ago, going back to these afternoons at the lake, where I didn't take responsibility. We were solving small problems, but the commitment. If I had said, "Okay, let's marry," then it would have been like, "Okay, but we still don't know if we can make it. If she will be. So let's hope that the marriage will change that." Which wasn't the case when it happened for real. Which was we already got to a point where I'm comfortable. If it doesn't improve, it's good enough, and I know it will always improve. But then the marriage thing, like, made it better as a
Yeah.
bonus.
Okay, now that we've established that it's already good enough for you, what wishes do you still have for the future? What do you want? Where do you want us to develop into? What would you dream for?
That's a good question. I mean, this might be boring, but I don't have anything specific that comes to mind. It's really, I think, as long as we keep talking about things that are not feeling right, then basically there is nothing that would stop us in any way. And the girl seems happy with that. We just need to protect, not to get too comfortable, to let things slip and break what we built, basically. And that thing, and probably a lot of challenges are coming, because you never know what's going to happen. But we shouldn't think, like, be too relaxed and say, yeah, come on, she deals with it now, it's not a problem. I should still be careful, like, always have a look, and same on your side, always talking, because one of the things that I need to mention that is what the worst thing for me in a relationship is when something is wrong, but it's fine. It's like, no, then it breaks everything. So as long as we are not doing that, then I don't see anything specific we should work on.
Yeah, and that's funny because that is one of the things that brought us into talking so much, actually. You really want to know. And even
Yeah.
if there is just a small thing, even if I was just not happy with a sentence you framed at dinner, for example, right? Before the girls. And I would be a little bit like, nah, Stefan, you could have said that differently. But, I decide not to say anything and like, okay, it's not a big deal, whatever. You feel it immediately.
I mean, I don't know. I think men and women are really different in a lot of ways, and I think women have amazing skills that we don't have. But at least I'm pretty sure that knowing when you are not right is, maybe it's in the DNA or whatever, but it sounds so easy. Like, literally everything changes. Like the atmosphere change, the face expressions. Like, why do we want to continue spending the next hour like that? What's the point? I mean, I'm also really special with that. I really can't handle a bad atmosphere, bad feeling, lack of harmony. So maybe that helped us, actually.
I think it brought a lot of the conversations on the table that I would probably have swallowed until I would have exploded at some point. I think it brought us a lot to a point to find a solution before it gets too much. Absolutely. I think that was very helpful. And on the same time, sometimes it made it more difficult because you just said like it's really hard for you not to be in harmony. And for me, sometimes I didn't have a solution right away, or I didn't want to find a solution right away. And that's still the case, you know. Sometimes it's also okay to just be mad, to just be sad, just to be disappointed, whatever, without finding a solution right away. And that is still very hard for you to handle. You know, you are already in the solution finding mode, and I'm just like, no, I need to cry now. Let me, like, I need to live that emotion. And you are like, no, like, we need to change that.
No, I still don't see the point. I really don't see the point in like self-suffering, self-pain. No.
Yeah, but I'm not inducing that pain to myself. I'm living the emotion, because only if I go through it, I can overcome it.
Yeah, that's how we are different.
Yeah, you don't agree to that. You think you can also overcome it without going through it. You go around, I'll go through it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it works well for me. Just want to solve the problem now, like that we are all happy, and then we kiss and we move on and have a good night. That's what I want at the moment.
yeah. Apropos kissing, was that something that was it a question for you actually? If we are showing our love in front of the kids?
I mean, to me, it never has been. I mean, I don't know, maybe because the way I was raised, my father had a problem showing his love in front of me, so
Openly.
so I never really had to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that this Molly was tough for her in the beginning, like to see that. But that's true. Like we never were hiding something.
No.
The only thing we didn't do in front of the kids is really argue about them.
Yeah,
We had discussions, we had arguments, but
yeah,
when
not
it was really
directly.
about something about them,
Yeah,
we never did that in front of them. And that's I think it's also a secret. It's not even a secret, but it's one of our successes that helps us
yeah,
to not pull them into that argument or to make them feel bad about it.
yeah. And I think what was funny, I was trying to remember last time. I don't remember which one told me about. There was a topic about conversation, communication. Sorry. And basically I realized that the way she framed it, that her example of good communication in relationship was, she said, like, it's basically like you and Sally.
Oh, I didn't know that. See,
That's nice.
you need to tell me those things.
I forgot.
Those are the things that keep me going forward too, and like you just let it slip into the side like that.
Well, then now you know.
Oh, that's cute. I remember also that this Molly at some point asked you like if we never argue. Why we never argue?
Yeah, and then we said that we do, just don't scream, don't yell at each other. We listen.
We try to at least.
I don't really try to.
Yeah, that's true. Like the only time where we were really, really in a very bad argument was the one about the media.
Mm.
That was really the worst argument we had. There was really a fight, like about who is right or who is wrong, and that's I think what made this topic so difficult, because we both know that.
I'm right.
Yeah, I know I am right, like, and you are wrong, and that like keeps us butting heads on that topic. So, darling, what would you say, what would you tell other fathers in the situation of finding a new woman and including her in the life of the patchwork family? What ultimate wisdom would you give them?
Um, so to a dad, my piece of wisdom would be probably to. I think that there is a whole thing about communicating that we talked about as a couple, but we didn't talk about how to not uh, make sure that the children are not too much, so that the communication can't happen. And I think that's probably the part where, yes, I want my children to feel good. I want them to be happy. That's my main thing. But I also want them to let me be and to let me have the time to be with you. And I think, without that, it just can't work. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but like, in order to protect the children, then I would always make sure that the children know where are their boundaries, so I have room, so I can develop a better relationship, so my children are happier.
Yeah, you're very right. That is a big thing that made it a lot easier for us as a couple to thrive, even though the kids were there. And that's your approach of how you call it parent centric approach. Like that.
It's a little bit provocating, but yes,
Yeah,
parent-centric
yeah,
is my education style.
right. And it just means to give a little bit of context and to explain that a little bit. It doesn't mean that you or we as a couple put our needs first. Not at all, on the contrary. But that we take ourselves very, very serious in that family setting too, and that it's more of a everybody needs to step back at some point. Like if the kids want to go to, I don't know, a amusement park, like obviously you and me, we are going to step back on the day. It's not about us. We don't do that for ourselves, we do it for the kids, and that's fine. While on a different day, if for example, like the last week where I wanted to go to the beach and the girls didn't want it really, you didn't want it to, but you guys did it anyway for me. It's not that I forced you, obviously, but it was but that's like that's what it means, like also to take yourself back, even though like you are children. And yeah, of course, like we're not talking here about basic needs, like as hunger or sleep or whatever. That's not even the case. But we're both aligned on that a kid also can learn to occupy themselves for a couple of minutes, because adults need to discuss something without the children being present, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, then we go into another, maybe a different conversation, which is way more about education. And I mean, that's very personal. I know I grew up in a way which I'm really happy with, but where the children adapt. You are children, you deal with it. Like, I don't know, we arrive somewhere, there are 3 chairs and one little thing to sit, then you are the small one, that's your seat. There is no point. That's the way it is. It's like the adults are talking, then you just wait for you to get attention, but you're not interrupting the adult. That you shouldn't do that. Like on the couch, you're not the king. You're not taking the best spot. The adults are taking it. And I mean, that's why I always wanted to do it. And I always make sure that they, from the get-go, they saw you as the what we can't do with dad, then we can't do it neither with Sally. It's like, it's the same. But that's against education. I know that there are some people, friends of us, that would think different and that leave a lot more freedom to their child. It's everybody's problem, but at least in our case, this allowed us to have room for ourselves, for our relationship, even in the middle of the time with the girls.
Yes, absolutely. And it gave me also a lot of space for me as a bonus mom. For example, like one of our rules here is that our sleeping room is our sacred space. They just don't come in there. And I mean, of course, that if there is a problem, they always can. We're not talking about emergencies or anything, but it's really like, okay,
If they are
is there a
bleeding,
fire? Are you bleeding? No, stay the hell out of it.
Fire, are you bleeding? No, but why?
Yeah, then no, I mean, of course, like really, like I don't want people to understand us wrong. Like if there is really, like, if the child is crying or whatever, like we would never abandon the child. That's not the case. But it was important for us to have those places, those times. And it's still very important to us now, that even now the kids are bigger, but at a certain point in the evening, it's not they are staying on the couch and keep watching TV forever while we go into bed. No, they go to bed before. And if we need time for ourselves, we have it at this point. Or if we're on a walk and there is something we need to discuss, the kids can also walk a little bit before us for 10 minutes. So we have a space to discuss that.
Yeah.
And then we're getting back to them. And that helped me a lot also. If there was a situation I was uncomfortable, I was unhappy with, I was unsure with, that I always had times very soon to talk about that.
Mm.
And that is true. That helped us a lot. And I know that a lot of dads, they feel guilty because they don't see the kids as much. They think they are the reason that this family broke up. They do a lot out of guilt. And I don't know if you did that, but I have never seen you doing that. Did you?
To
act out of guilt or?
No.
I mean, sometimes, like you would say, like, okay, if they are only here for a weekend, why should they eat that many veggies? Like, just let it go. For example.
Yeah. There is. It was not really guilt, but the fact that I was missing them a lot at some points. No, obviously, it alters my behavior, and I want to spend more time with them and to include them more. But they always have been aware of the rules. The rules is like, when I say the rules, not like a dictatorship or anything. Although sometimes they would say what I mean that. No, but it's like we love them so much. We do everything we can for them, but they are still living in our house, and we are still a couple. That's what's happening here. And when they come here, they are at their place. That's their home, but with rules. It's not their home to the point that they do whatever they want. They do whatever they can do. And since it always has been clear, then it's probably helped us.
Yeah, and like it means we're giving them every freedom that they need and that they want, with every boundary that they need. For example, like when we send them to bed at 9, it doesn't mean they need to sleep right away and they need to be super silent and lights out and don't move anymore. Like
absolutely not.
No, maybe we should talk about that again. But anyway, they still get to be awake and play and whatever. And still we say, okay, now it's the end of the TV watching. Now you occupy yourselves, and we have time for ourselves to do whatever we want. And this is what I mean. And this is like also one of our rules is us first.
Mm.
You and me, we come first, because if we are not good, if we are not aligned, if we are having a problem, it affects this whole structure.
Yeah.
And then everything is unstable. So we are the base. So we really need to be secure and good. And the more we do that, the more capacity we have. And I mean, we see that now on the weekends when the girls are here. We have a lot more energy, and we can do a lot more what they want. We can focus a lot more on them, to play with them, to do activities with them, all that kind of stuff, because we know
We're
we are
not
good.
spending communicating and arguing about like the potential problem because we are good.
Yeah.
Then all of our energy is like to also to make them happy and to make us happy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, I think that's a very, very good point. It's good that you still brought it on, because I think that's also what makes us a little bit different than from a lot of people we know, who are parenting very children orientated. And where we might end up with some controversial discussions. But for us, that way, to say, like, we put us first, and still we see the children.
Yeah.
That worked very well.
The whole life, us living where we are now, like the plan that we chose, everything is for because quote unquote of the girls. We would probably have traveled and went to live somewhere completely different. Turns out we love it here, right? But we chose here because of them. So our life is turned around them, but at least in the day-to-day, then it's turned around us. But we always want them to feel as good as possible, as humanly possible, but us first.
Yeah, of course, one could argue, like, telling you, like, yeah, but you made those kids 13 years ago, and now you're complaining that you can't go travel because they exist. I mean, that was your choice.
That was my choice, and I'm literally and in the whole life, the two things I have responsibility for now, three, but the girls are the only one that I am really responsible for because they didn't choose to leave. I was part to put them here, so I feel that as my ultimate mission to to be there until they can at least, ideally, forever, but ideally, but at least until the point that they can deal with life on their own. We are not there yet, but they will at some point. So one doesn't prevent the other. Like, I feel absolute total responsibility for my kids. Like, they're literally the thing that there is a whole part of my brain that is just dedicated to them, that is working towards them, that all my decisions, they're always included. But on the day-to-day, I want to live my life. So that they have access to me and I will do everything for them, but they don't make the law. They are not kings. They are little princess. And the princess, they have to listen to the king and the queen.
But it's not a dictatorship. No. I'm not sure if that hierarchy you just created made it better or not.
I mean, princess, right? Princess is cool.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very beautifully said, that they are always like included in every of your decisions. Every decision you make, you think about what consequence could it have on them. And in return, you also ask for some things, like respect. like to also have some time for yourself, to not be talked back to, not be lied to, those small kind of things that are important for us when we interact with human beings. And I think that's absolutely valid.
Yeah.
Okay, so your little piece of wisdom towards dads turned out into another 20-minute conversation. So guys, like, welcome to our life.
Nice.
That's
Oh,
what,
it's a
yeah,
long one.
that happens quite a lot to us, like that when we're having lunch and there's one question and like an hour later we're like, thanks for that deep talk.
Small talk.
Yeah. You have any last words of wisdom? Anything else, like an aspect that you think we really should talk about that we haven't focused on yet?
No, I mean, if I can give a nice. So if my piece of wisdom was addressed to me 5 years ago, then if I could address one to you 5 years ago,
Let's do that.
I would say, no, I mean, so this one is a short one. And it's a kind of a summary of everything we talked about. But I would just say, like, don't fight. Don't try to fight what can't be won, what you can't win. The whole part of the winning against the children will never work. Winning with the children will work for sure. And I mean, we couldn't phrase it back then like that, but now it's so freaking clear. It's like, just don't try to do this fight. It just won't work. Sure, recipe for failure.
Okay, that's the advice you would give the 5-year-old younger Sally and the 5-year-old younger Stefan?
Well, I would say it a little bit different, because if I give this exact advice to you 5 years ago, it would have probably been harder to handle. But the meaning, yeah, I would say.
So it's for both of us, the advice 5 years ago. Don't try to fight
for me,
against
I
it.
wasn't trying to fight against the children, right? I wasn't trying to compete with the children.
No, but what would you give yourself then? What would be the advice for you?
That was the piece of wisdom of the father side.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't understand it. Okay, interesting. Let me think. I also want to do that now. You 5 years ago, I would, of course, I would say like, hey, stop delaying the proposal. Don't wait for so long. She's a good one.
Good one.
No, but like honest, like without joking. I would probably say like, have confidence, give it some time. And honestly, I think you did so many things right. I mean, you were listening to me all the time, even though we talked about me being jealous on the kids like for the 100th time. You let me talk about it. You always tried to understand me. You didn't try to talk me out of it. So there were all those things where I felt seen, felt listened to, felt, okay, this is important, You did so many things right already, and I'm super grateful for that. So I guess I would say, like, don't lose hope. It will get better than you imagine it.
Yeah, it.
And to me, There's a little bit of like, oh girl, you have no idea what awaits you. Like from, yeah, of course, with this man you will cancel your love job and start a journey as an entrepreneur. You will move to a different country and all of that stuff. Like there is this part, but I think the biggest one would be like, talk about it. Talk about everything that is on your mind.
Don't let it sit.
Yeah. Talk
lost.
through about it, even though you think you are annoying and you can't bear those topics anymore neither. Go through it again and again and again. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Thank you very much, my darling.
Welcome. That's good.
Yeah. And I don't only mean that podcast. I really mean like for being you and for being on the journey with me. I really, really love it.
I also enjoyed the journey so far.
That's good. And there's only more to come. Thank you for being podcast guest.
Yeah. Since the time we were talking about it, so now we have done it.
Yeah. Well
Okay.
done. Good stuff.
Bye then.
Was für ein schönes emotionales Gespräch da gerade hinter uns liegt. Und du hast, glaube ich, einen sehr, sehr guten Eindruck davon bekommen, wie wir einfach miteinander sind. Ne? Also sehr ehrlich, sehr humorvoll und doch auch immer wieder tiefgehend in diese bestimmten Themen einzusteigen. Und man merkt ja auch, wow, wir haben echt schon ganz viel miteinander gesprochen darüber. Ich bin auf jeden Fall gespannt, was du aus diesem Gespräch mitnimmst, was dich überrascht hat, was dich begeistert hat, wo vielleicht auch noch Fragen offen sind. Schreib mir das gerne auf Instagram unter Stief und Glücklich und lass uns da mal in den Austausch gehen. Ich hoffe auch, dass diese Folge ganz viele Papas erreicht und ihnen einfach nochmal so einen Perspektivwechsel ermöglicht, auch in Bezug eben auf die Perspektive des leiblichen Papas in der Konstellation. Also teile das Video auch gern mit anderen Vätern in derselben Position, die davon profitieren können. Und wenn du jetzt sagst, wow, das, was ihr erreicht habt, das wünsche ich mir auch, dann buch dir doch jetzt einen Kennenlern-Call mit mir. Denn all das, was wir miteinander erarbeitet haben, all die Tools, all die Übungen, die wir miteinander gemacht haben, die gebe ich natürlich auch gern an dich weiter. Und dafür füllst du einfach ein ganz kurzes Quiz aus. Den Link dazu findest du in den Shownotes und dann erfährst du auch sofort, wie ich dich am besten unterstützen kann. Und wenn es sogar passt, dann kannst du dir dann dein Kennenlerngespräch mit mir buchen und wir schauen auch noch, ob wir auch miteinander harmonieren und im 1:1 miteinander arbeiten können. Ich freue mich auf jeden Fall auf dich und deine Geschichte und bis dahin freue ich mich auf dich in der nächsten Folge. Bleib klar, bleib bei dir und vor allem bleib stief und glücklich.